tornado strikes Texas.
I think we are most grateful for no loss of life.
Rising water. New worries in western New York as Lake Ontario approaches flood stage.
Hope isn't really a plan.
Preparation is everything.
While across the country in Idaho, the problem is a lack of water and the impact on crops.
How are we going to keep our vines and trees alive to the end of the summer?
2 hiking deaths in a week are raising concerns in Utah's Zion National Park.
One small step, or if there's too many people going one direction, you're trying to squeeze around somebody and you slip, it could be there.
And what's happened to all the birds in Seattle?
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Jordan Evans. The National Weather Service has now confirmed at least 5 tornadoes in the Lone Star State Tuesday night. That includes an EF3 twister that caused extensive damage in the town of Mineral Wells. It had peak winds up to 145 miles per hour, injuring 5 people and displacing dozens of families. Survivors say it's a miracle no one was killed. We begin with Ivan Rodriguez, who has more.
Y'all pray for everybody in Mineral Wells, Texas, guys. It's crazy out here right now.
Tuesday night, a tornado ripped through Mineral Wells, Texas, about 80 miles west of Dallas.
This is the first time that I've seen or known about this magnitude of destruction in this community.
A total of 5 people were injured and taken to the hospital, and several people were treated for minor injuries on the scene, according to the city's fire chief.
First and foremost, I think we are most grateful for no loss of life in this event yesterday. When you see the destruction that's here.
Multiple homes and a wide swath of the industrial area were damaged.
We've had multiple homes severely damaged and some people are displaced. We're going to get through this and, whatever we can do to assist them and help them.
Tuesday's storms also brought massive hail up to grapefruit size near Godley, Texas, while stones up to tennis ball and baseball size pummeled Springfield, Missouri, damaging vehicles and knocking down power poles. In southern Oklahoma, a possible tornado shredded buildings, including some mobile homes, and significantly damaged power lines. I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
And speaking of hail, check out the hailstones that fell elsewhere in Texas. This happened near Camp Wood, about 90 miles east of San Antonio. Some of these hailstones were 5 inches in diameter. That's the size of a softball or a grapefruit. That storm system also produced a tornado in eastern Arkansas, and we showed you this video of it yesterday. Now people in the small town of Brinkley are cleaning up the damage. Chris Gay was there.
This Monroe County home saw significant damage once the tornado ripped through the area, especially on the backside of the home. James Nicholson was home when the storm hit, which he says he's used to by now.
This is the 3rd time it's done hit right in this area. Getting kind of used to it.
Nicholson says the tornado sounded like a freight train, and he felt like it lasted forever, even though it was over in 3 minutes.
At 8 o'clock, it was done and over with.
He says he still hasn't processed everything that has happened.
Well, I don't really know yet. Still thinking about it.
Now Nicholson is ready to start all over once again.
Just push it down and rebuild.
Like Nicholson, the county is also ready to rebuild. Crews were out repairing severed power lines, but some of the damage was even more severe for the area's infrastructure. This right here was a power pole that snapped right across the road here and severed power all the way down this road. Some crews were out burning down trees as debris from nearby structures lay in fields.
Now to flooding. A western New York town is closely watching Lake Ontario. Right now, the water levels are just under flood stage, and this is all thanks to above average rainfall from March and April. As Christian Garzone explains, the town is asking its shoreline residents to be proactive.
We're right on the verge of hitting flood stages.
Greecetown Supervisor Jeff McCann says the flood limit is 247.5 feet. Currently, lake levels are just a splash under 247 feet.
Hope isn't really a plan. So what we're actually doing right now is staging resources, pumps, Our crews are at the ready.
Commissioner of Public Works Corey Gurnett says his team has been ensuring all valves are working along Edgemere Drive. They allow workers to block lake water from backing up into the street. They're also clearing out debris and getting 40,000 sandbags ready.
Preparation is everything.
Residents like Barb Bray having flash floodbacks to spring 2017 and 19 when Edgemere Drive was Deluge Drive. She lost her furnace and hot water heater, but at least she's better prepared now.
These sump pumps automatically come on. My hot water heater is now up in my upstairs, but my furnace is still down there.
June Bohm says in prior flooding, her family did okay, but others not so much.
It was pretty scary. I live right down there at the dead end, and a few people lost their homes.
They installed a break wall to help mitigate the flooding. However,
I'm extremely worried.
McCann assuring residents like Bohm there's a chance levels could go down soon, but they are not leaving anything to chance.
But if anything should happen, we'll be in a position to step in and try to mitigate the damage as much as we can.
With Idaho under a statewide drought emergency, farmers face tough decisions heading into this year's crop season. Leslie Sola spoke with the co-owner of a local orchard and vineyard to see how he plans to navigate through the water worries.
How are we going to keep our vines and trees alive through the end of the summer?
That's the question many in Sunny Slope are navigating. Droughts are not new to the agricultural industry, but continue to become especially challenging for those working to maintain permanent crops.
Our crops out here are permanent, that meaning they're going to stay here year in and year out. And as a farmer, it's my job to guide my employees to care for these, and that includes applying the right amount of water.
As he showed me the trees now pruned and ready for growing season, Williamson says unlike other farms that can choose what crops to grow or shorten their season, that's not an option for them. Instead, they're keeping their grapevines more heavily pruned this year to help stretch their water supply through the driest months leading into the fall, a decision that could come at a cost with fewer grapes this season.
It does affect our bottom line. They were telling us maybe water would be turned off in August or September, which should be terrible. I don't know how we would finish.
But thanks to his family's century-old farm, they have found ways to better protect their water.
Here at Williamson's, we use water thrifty practices, including drip irrigation. And the emitters put the water right where the plant is. We use technology out in the field as well. We have water sensors that go 4 feet down in the ground to measure and monitor how the water table in our fields are doing, and so that we can more precisely water right when we need to and not overwater. Water's a treasure, and we have to spend it wisely.
We are now just 32 days from the start of hurricane season. Meteorologist Jennifer Collins says now is the time to prepare.
You've prepared ahead of the season. You've followed the forecast. You've done the work to protect your home. Now here's how to protect yourself during the storm. First, stay informed and make sure wireless emergency alerts are enabled on your phone or keep a portable weather radio nearby. Continue tracking the latest forecast because conditions can change fast. Even small shifts in a storm's track can make a big difference. And remember, impacts don't stop at the center. Dangerous weather can be felt hundreds of miles, even far away from the coastline. And when a storm hits, stay in your safe place, away from wind and water. Get to a higher ground and avoid bodies of water in flood-prone area. If flooding reaches your home and you're still inside, move to the highest level possible, escaping rising water. For strong winds, think tornado safety. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. An interior room without windows is the safest place to ride it out. And listen closely to local officials and avoid travel unless you're told to evacuate. If evacuation orders are still issued, leave immediately following recommended routes and watch for debris and downed power lines. And never drive through floodwaters. You can't see what's in the water beneath. And just 1 foot of rushing water can sweep away a vehicle.
Good tips on staying safe there. Staying in Florida, 2 deputies are being called heroes after rescuing a black bear cub. The deputies came across this little one who looked distressed and had an injured front leg. Mom was nowhere in sight, so the deputies stepped in to help. The cub, now known as Grape, is at a rehab center with hopes of being released back into the wild. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll look into why bird populations are decreasing in Washington state, and we'll help you better understand storm surge. And now time for a short break, but first we take to the skies over Montana.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. We're starting our Thursday with some wet weather when it's not raining, it's drizzling today. The exception, New York, New Jersey. There I think you'll see more in the way of at least some brightening. This is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. A lot of that rainfall will be exiting through New England around that time frame. Then as we go into Friday, brighter skies return and the temperatures will get a boost back to at least seasonable levels. We should be in the 50s and low 60s for highs. We're starting to introduce the chance for a passing shower on Saturday with a partly sunny sky.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. Dry for your Thursday. We'll see some sunshine returning. Temperatures on the mild side. A chance for a couple of showers possible late Friday afternoon and evening as a very weak disturbance is going to cross the region, but very little rainfall. Very few of us will actually see anything measurable. But it's 50s to 60s for your Thursday afternoon. On Friday, after a chilly start in the 30s and 40s, we will be seeing 40s and 50s, mostly with 60s possible Friday afternoon.
Hi, meteorologist Jennifer Collins with a look at your southeast forecast. Mild conditions across the Carolinas as drier weather moves in with temperatures running in the 60s and 70s. Hot and humid across parts of the state of Florida with temperatures running in the upper 80s, low 90s. The chance for showers and thunderstorms lingers across the Carolinas through Thursday afternoon before drier weather arrives late in the day. Showers and thunderstorms will linger across the northern Gulf Coast through Friday morning. Dry weather continues across the state of Florida with hot weather moving in for the weekend.
The National Weather Desk celebrates 250 years of amazing America.
2 hikers have died at Utah's Zion National Park in the span of just a week. The most recent incident, a 43-year-old man in an area known as Spry Canyon. The other death happened along Angel's Landing, an infamous hike known for its sharp drop-offs and narrow paths. Samantha Hoffman spoke with park officials and hikers on whether new safety measures are needed.
The Spry Canyon area is known for rock climbing and rappelling.
If you set up your rigging incorrectly to rappel down, or if you are not sure how to specifically do rappelling, then you can definitely get in trouble.
Angel's Landing, a permitted hike, has cliffs edges of 1,800 feet.
You're like right on the tip of the mountain, so one small step, or if there's too many people going one direction, you're trying to squeeze around somebody and you slip, it could be there.
Zion National Park says they review every serious incident to understand what occurred and whether adjustments could improve safety. They say infrastructure changes have to take into account safety, terrain, feasibility, protection requirements, and operational constraints. Some hikes have handrails, fencing, or chains. While some visitors want more of that, others feel it takes away from the view.
You're seeing the human footprint out there a little bit more instead of being away from it all.
The park says more emergency responses have come with record visitation. They say accidents in both heavily visited trails and remote backcountry areas. They say terrain, weather, trail conditions, and visitor preparedness can all influence risk. Sampson and Moore say some hikers ignore it, feeling danger is part of the draw.
Because it's kind of your adrenaline and those seekers that are just like out there for the thrill. So a lot of those just being right on the edge of kind of life and death. You're like one wrong step, you're out there.
There's things that we can do to prevent injury or death, and there's other things that when you're in an environment like this, a rock can fall, and that certainly is something that you can't prevent.
When it rains, the water must go somewhere, and in the Midwest, it's always almost one of the Great Lakes. With a very wet spring so far, meteorologist Phil DeCastro looks at whether any of that precipitation is having an impact on Lake Michigan water levels.
This spring has seen historic snow, multiple ice storms, rounds of pounding rain across both Michigan and Wisconsin alike, so it should come as no surprise that almost the entire area surrounding Lake Michigan has seen way more precipitation than normal since March 1st. Now, for the month of March, just March, precipitation ran anywhere from 1.5 to 2 or even 3 times normal all through the watershed. And over the 30 days leading up to Tuesday, April 28th, which is essentially the month of April, precipitation running even further above normal, running 2 to even 5 times above normal precipitation in some pockets here of northeast Wisconsin, as well as out into northern Michigan. Now, obviously, this water all has to go somewhere, and that somewhere eventually is Lake Michigan. So taking a look at the levels, you can actually see that starting to occur. This is a look at lake levels for this year in that red line, and for last year, for comparison, is that blue line. And you can see that just in the last couple of weeks. Look at that little trend right there. Levels have suddenly deviated way higher than from the typical upward climb that we would see in the spring. But it's important to note the big picture here. First, levels are still very close to normal, which is those pink dots that you see there on each month. And second, we're still sitting way below the records that were set just a few years ago in the spring of 2020. That's the black dashes there. We're still about 3 or 4 feet away from those levels. And you can see on the long-term trend here just how far off we've fallen in the grand scheme of things. And to reach those records back in 2020, it took the 2 wettest years on record back to back in 2018 and 2019 to get there. So yes, Lake Michigan levels are coming up a bit this spring, but they're still near normal, and they're still way below the records that were set just a few years ago.
Fewer and fewer birds. New analysis shows a 21% decline of bird counts in the Seattle area parks over the last 2 decades. So meteorologist Stella Sun looks at what's behind the decline and why it matters.
In Seattle, nature can be found everywhere.
It's so beautiful.
The sound of birds chirping can be heard in most green spaces.
Birds are beautiful. They chirp. We all can look at birds and appreciate that.
But new analysis from a survey spanning nearly 2 decades finds there are fewer birds in Seattle area parks.
The decline of bird populations, avian populations, is very real.
Birds Connect Seattle, a nonprofit group, found there was a 21% decline in bird counts in 6 of these 8 total parks.
We looked at the bird counts from 2005 to 2023. We found that the species diversity, the species richness, a measure of diversity, that declined by 18% over that 19-year period.
Experts say bird counts showed trends and not precise population numbers. The group found Washington Park Arboretum saw bird counts fall 41%. Golden Gardens declined 36%. Discovery Park dropped 25%.
The insect population is also crashing.
Experts say less insects means not as much food for birds. And habitat loss, like less tree canopies, are a couple of factors likely leading to this decline.
Yes, I'm very aware of that kind of domino effect.
Researchers say there's a domino effect when bird counts are down, and it could be a warning sign of other things happening in the ecosystem. But as research continues, experts say trying to protect nature can help humans too.
Birds, unlike any other group of animal, provide a direct connection to wild nature right next to our homes in a positive way, And connection to nature is extremely important for mental and physical health.
A South Carolina beekeeper is working hard to handle multiple issues impacting his bee population. So from a recent fire to drought and to other hazards, the folks at Edisto Gold Honey are staying in good spirits despite some of those hardships. Photojournalist Jason Thigh caught up with the farmer.
I started beekeeping at the age of 16. My mother actually inherited 4 hives from an older beekeeper, and she's the one that started my beekeeping journey. This is a bee yard that we have. It's a holding yard that we brought bees to our farm here in Reesville. Unfortunately, we had a smoker incident where one of our smokers dropped an ember and it started a grass fire that could not be put out. We were already set back because of the drought. For instance, this particular yard, we planted 2 or 3 acres of clover just to supplement the bee forage here at our home yard, and not a single clover seed has come up because of the drought. So for the farmers, it's actually pretty dire right now. We're praying for rain. Normally for bee losses in a year, people don't know it, but it's around 40% of the hives in the United States die naturally every year because of whether it's pesticides or just natural conditions. This past year, it was actually one of the highest in recorded history, was 60% losses for beehives. So we're constantly trying to rebuild and recoup losses. So we have seen a huge support from our community that has actually been humbling.
As we head to break, here are some views of the Las Vegas Strip.
Well, a very good Thursday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. We do have some scattered rain kind of working its way across the Midwest today. It's pretty light, nothing that's going to be a huge impact, but a few nuisance rain showers today. That kind of shifts closer to the Ohio Valley and lower Great Lakes for tomorrow. Cool temperatures stick around as we head into the weekend, but the good news is, looks like we should be dry for pretty much all of the Midwest on Saturday and warming up a little more out in the plains.
Hi, meteorologist Chris Ucci. I look at our forecast across the region. We've been tracking some scattered storms, especially East Texas across Louisiana and southern Arkansas. We step into your forecast Thursday, really mild in the morning, although a little cooler up in Amarillo and Oklahoma City. Another batch of some scattered showers and thunderstorms will move across. Temperatures 60s and 70s, and it stays very active on Friday. Next weather maker, a big system moving across Texas into Louisiana.
Well, hi there, everybody, and a good Thursday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Grand finale of April, and it could not be prettier up and down the I-5 corridor from Canada to Mexico and everywhere in between. Boy, it looks lovely today. We'll hit the 70s in Seattle, 80s in Portland, 60s near coastal California, but you head inland, it'll be a lot warmer than that. Look at Denver at just 45. Another round of snow in the Rockies there. Otherwise, the clear skies continue as we head into this weekend along the West Coast. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Severe weather season is here, and as we mentioned earlier, hurricane season is only 32 days away. And when storms make landfall, one of the greatest dangers, in fact the deadliest one, that is storm surge. Meteorologist Joy Bettenhausen recently posted about it on Instagram.
Tropical storms and hurricanes can cause life-altering damage, and usually that's through storm surge. So let's talk about what it is. As a tropical system nears land, we begin to see that water level rise. Now, usually this doesn't cause too much damage yet, but will likely be seen on beaches and shorelines. As that system is just offshore, that water level does continue to rise, and with that, we normally see, well, damage to those structures near that shoreline. These could be homes, businesses, tree lines, etc. As the storm makes landfall, its winds will push seawater onto shore. Now, the orientation of the storm compared to the coastline, as well as the intensity of the storm and the track, will all determine how dangerous or devastating that storm surge could be for a particular area.
And you can find us on all your favorite social media platforms. Just search for the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm meteorologist Jordan Evans. Make it a great day. We'll see you back here tomorrow.